Verse 2. 6 impediments to bhakti. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyamcha shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Translation. Bhakti is destroyed by falling 6 kinds of faults. 1. Eating too much or collecting more than necessary. 2. Endeavors which are opposed to bhakti. 3. Useless mundane talks. 4. Failure to adopt essential regulations or fanatical adherence to regulations. 5. Association with persons who are opposed to bhakti. And 6. Greed or the restlessness of the mind to adopt worthless opinions. Updesh Prakashika Tika. In the beginning stage of the practice of bhakti, the material proclivity is prominent in the hearts of the sadhakas. Therefore, they are unable to subdue the 6 overwhelming passions described in the first verse. Consequently, in this condition, many tendencies develop in the heart of sadhakas which are very harmful to bhakti. In this verse, those injurious tendencies are being described for the benefit of the sadhakas. The word atyahar means to eat more than required or to accumulate material objects. The word prayas means to endeavor for worldly objects or to be engaged in activities which are opposed to bhakti. The word prajalpa means to uselessly criticize and gossip about others, which is a gross misuse of time. The word niyam agraha, when broken into its constituent parts, has 2 meanings. 1. Niyam plus agraha, overzealousness in following rules. And 2. Niyam plus agraha, failure to accept rules. When the first meaning is applied, it refers to enthusiasm for those rules which yield an inferior result, such as promotion to the heavenly planets, leaving aside the endeavor for the supreme attainment of the service of the Lord. When the second meaning is applied, it refers to indifference towards those rules which nourish bhakti. The words Jan Sangha mean to give up the association of pure devotees and keep company with others. In the conversation between Devhuti and Kardama Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.23.55, there is a very nice instruction about giving up worldly association. Sango ya samsripte hetu asastu vihito adhiya sa eva sadhu sukrito nisahangatva kalpate. O Dev, association is the cause of both material bondage and liberation from material existence. When due to ignorance, one keeps company with worldly-minded persons who are diverted from the path of bhakti, that association brings about one's material entanglement. When, however, one keeps company with pure devotees of the Lord, that association liberates one from material existence and causes one to obtain the lotus feet of the Lord. Furthermore, Bhagwan Kapil Dev gives the following instructions to Devhuti. Sangam na kurjat pramade sujatu yogasya param param arurukshu matsevya pratilabdhatma labho vadanti ya niraya dwaram asya. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.39. Those who desire to obtain Krishna Prem, which is the ultimate fruit of Bhakti Yoga, should never indulge in illicit association with women. Learned sages who know the absolute truth say that for those who desire liberation from material existence and attainment of the lotus feet of the Lord, illicit connection with women open wide the door to hell. Teshav asanteshu mudeshu khandit atmasu asadhusu Sangam na khurja socheshu yoshit krida mrigushu cha. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.34. One should never associate with foolish, agitated, materialistic men who identify the body as the self who are most deplorable, and who are dancing dogs in the hands of women. Having pointed out the defects of material association, the revealed scriptures, Shastras, forbid it. The agitation of the mind for compatible objects and the unsteadiness of the mind which results from association with persons of many different opinions is known as lolle. Such unsteadiness of the mind is like an unchaste woman wandering sometimes upon the path of karma, sometimes on the path of yoga, sometimes on the path of jnana, and sometimes upon the path of bhakti. By this, the predilection for bhakti is destroyed. Piyush Varshani Vritti. Atyahar, Prayas, Prajalpa, Niyam Agra, Janasanga and Lolya are 6 faults which are directly opposed to bhakti. 1. The word Atyahar is a compound word formed by combination of the prefix ati, which means too much or excessively, with the word ahar, which means to seize, grasp, or consume for one's own enjoyment. Excessive enjoyment of sense objects through any one of the senses and the endeavor to accumulate in excess of one's requirement are known as atyahar. Devotees who have renounced householder life are forbidden to accumulate material goods. Grasta Vaishnavas must acquire goods sufficient for their maintenance, but if they accumulate beyond their needs, it is known as atyahar. Those are eager to perform bhajan should not accumulate worldly goods like materialistic sense enjoyers. Second, the word prayas refers to the activities which are opposed to bhakti or those which are performed for the enjoyment of the senses. Third, to waste time in useless, mundane talks is called prajalpa. Fourth, the word niyamagraha has 2 meanings. When one has obtained a progressively higher qualification but remains overzealous to adhere to the rules pertaining to a lower qualification, it is known as niyamagraha. Failing to observe the rules which nourish bhakti, or in other words, an absence of firm faith is known as niyamagraha. Fifth, to associate with persons other than Bhagwan's devotees is known as janasanga. Sixth, the word lolya means both unsteadiness and greediness. In the first sense, it refers to the flickness of the mind to accept many different kinds of false doctrines or uncertain conclusions. In the second sense, it refers to attachment for worthless material sense enjoyment. By prajalpa, one indulges in criticizing sadhus, and by lolya, one awakens a taste for many different temporary, uncertain conclusions. Both of these lead to nam aprad. Therefore, one should very carefully give them up. Anuvritti. Excessive acquisition of knowledge, which is the preoccupation of the jnanis. Accumulation of the fruits of work, which is undertaken by the fruitive workers, and amassing too many material objects, which is the business of those who are plagued with many desires, are all known as atyahar. The cultivation of knowledge, which is taken up by jnanis, austerities and vows undertaken by karmis, and hard labor, which is done by those possessed of many desire to obtain wife, children, and wealth are called prayas. The dry scholarship of the jnanis, which amounts to nothing more than useless scriptural argumentation, praise of the benefit of pious deeds, which generates fondness for religious rituals in the karmis, and the talks which are pleasing to the senses of those who are possessed of many desires are called prajalpa. To accept the rules of the Jnana Shastras in order to obtain liberation is called agraha, or overzealousness. Attachment for the rules outlined in the scriptures promoting pragmatism means practical as opposed to the idealistic results. with a desire for sensual enjoyment both in this world and the next is known as Niyam Agraha. Establishment of certain rules of conduct appropriate for one's own status in order to achieve immediate happiness, as advocated by the Altarians or those who promote the great happiness for the greatest number, is also known as Niyam Agraha. To remain indifferent to the rules which are prescribed for the attainment of bhakti is known as Niyam Agraha. Such persons are so odious that they try to pass off even their detestable wantonness and depravity as the most sacred and elevated path of spontaneous devotion, Rag Marg. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, the disposition of such persons have been explained in the following words. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatri Vidhim Vina Ekantiki Harir Bhaktir Utpatev Kalpate. Although engaged in single-minded devotion to Lord Hari, if one transgresses the regulation mentioned in the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas and Narad Pancharatra, great misgivings means anarthas are produced. In the Kalyan Kalpataru also, Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, My dear mind, what have you done? Being in a very immature stage, you have cheated yourself unknowingly by perpetrating the fault of narrow-mindedness upon the pure Vaishnava Sampradaya. You have supposed the pure conception and validity of Sampradaya to be hypocrisy and thus abandoned them. You have given up wearing the Vaishnava tilak markings and neck beads called Tulsi Mala and put aside your chanting beads called Bhajan Mala. You think, what is the use of wearing tilak? I can chant within my mind. So what need is there of beads? One's diet has nothing to do at all with bhajan. So don't think that you have to give up eating meat, fish or eggs. Don't think you must stop drinking wine or tea and taking intoxicants such as pan, tobacco, marijuana, hemp or opium. You have cast aside the need for taking initiation, diksha. You have begun to refer to yourself as an incarnation. You have begun to propagate your new theories very powerfully through different agents. You are criticizing the opinions of the previous great personalities, Mahajans and Acharyas of the path of bhakti, considering them to be mistaken. Some cunning person put on tilak and tulsi mala and cheat others. Therefore, you avoid association of anyone who wears tilak and mala, considering them to be the cheaters. But, my dear brother mine, please consider, what have you gained by this? You have given up gold for ashes. Your present life and the next life have both been utterly ruined. You address everyone as hypocrite, knave and cheater, but you have failed to attain Bhagavad Bhakti. What will be your fate at the time of death? O mind, what shall I tell you? You utter the words prema, prema, but what good will it avail? Prema is a rare and priceless jewel. You have to undertake arduous sadhan to attain it. By deceitful practice, you may a show of tears, trembling, horripilation, and fainting at the time of kirtan or hearing spiritual discourses. Yet your real business is simply to accumulate wealth, women and prestige. When you have not even a trace of attachment for pure sadhan bhakti, which is essential for the acquisition of prema, then how will you obtain such pure Bhagavad prema? You will have to first give up the 10 offences against the holy name and chant Harinam continuously. You should hear Hari Katha in the association of pure Vaishnavas. Then, by the mercy of Shri Nam Prabhu, unalloyed prema will arise automatically in your heart. You have not performed bhajan in a regulated manner. You have not performed sankirtan in the association of pure devotees. You have not withdrawn your mind from sense objects and engaged it in remembering the Lord in a secluded place. Without first climbing the tree Your attempt to pluck the fruit with your own hands has simply gone in vain. The most sacred and pure Krishna Prema is extremely rare. By misleading others, you will simply cheat yourself. First make yourself fit by performing sadhana, then Prema will become easily accessible to you. O brother, although lust, kama, and love, Prema, appear identically by external indications, they are not at all the same. Kama is like rusted iron, whereas Prema is like pure gold. You have seized Kam, imagining it to be gold. Can anyone obtain Prema by such absurd means? O foolish mind, you have become intoxicated by uselessly considering Kam to be the Prem. The lust for bones and flesh appears alluring for the time being. That lust chases endlessly after the object of the senses. But unalloyed love is the natural disposition of the jiva. That prem is fully sentient and spiritual by nature. The object of that prema is Shri Hari alone, not a dressed up doll of bones and flesh. At present, prema is in a dormant condition, being covered by kam. Therefore, you must endeavor to dispel this lust and to initiate the awakening of love. First, by good fortune, due to the devotional pious credits, Sukriti accumulated over many previous lifetimes, pure faith, Shraddha arises. Then, by hearing Harikatha and performing Harinam Kirtan in the association of pure devotees, Shraddha is matured and evolves successfully into steadfastness, Nishtha, taste, Ruchi, and deep attachment, Asakti. From Asakti, Bhav makes its appearance, and from Bhav, Prem is manifested. This is the order of development by which Prema is awakened. Prema may be obtained only by taking support of this progressively evolution and never by any other means. O wicked mind, why do you fear to take up this step-by-step method of sadhana? By mere imitation of Prem, you will not obtain anything. By such an imitative display, you will attain only the temporary happiness of sense enjoyment, which will also result in misery in the end. With this understanding, you should give up all offenses and impediments, anarthas, and engage yourself in pure sadhana bhakti. In this lies your good fortune. The association of jnanis, whose aim is voidism or liberation, of fruitive workers who covet the fruit of their work, and of hedonistic enjoyers who are attached to sensual enjoyment, which is momentarily pleasing but ultimately culminates in distress, is known as Jana Sangha. When one obtains the association of Bhagwan's pure devotees, detrimental materialistic association automatically disappears. The word lolle literally means greed or restlessness. This restlessness refers to the tendency of the mind to run after various pursuits with greed to taste their fruits. With a desire to enjoy worldly sense enjoyment or to attain liberation, the mind sometimes runs in the direction of eightfold yoga system, sometimes towards the process of meditation, sometimes towards the performance of sacrifices, and sometimes towards the practice by which one can attain impersonal Brahm. This is known as lolle. Thus, one should give up the 6 kinds of faults: atyahar, prayas, prajalpa, niyamagraha, janasanga, and lolya, and engage in pure sadhana bhakti. If one fails to do so, then the power to understand that Krishna bhakti bestows the highest good for all living entities will be covered over, and one will be forever deviated from the path of bhakti.